The first raindrop falls. For a few seconds, almost nothing seems to change. The robin is still pulling worms from the lawn. The sparrows are still hopping beneath your feeder. A cardinal is still perched on the fence exactly where it was a moment ago. Then, almost all at once, they disappear. The feeder empties. The branches go still. The lawn that was full of movement only moments earlier suddenly feels strangely quiet. Where did they go? Most people assume birds simply dislike getting wet. They imagine them flying somewhere else, waiting for the rain to stop before carrying on with their day. But the reality is far more deliberate, far more fascinating, and in some cases, completely the opposite of what you might expect. The first few minutes after rain begins trigger some of the most remarkable behaviors in a bird's daily life. Some species vanish into places you've probably walked past hundreds of times without noticing. Others treat the rain like a free spa. Some know that an underground feast is about to begin. And one of the smallest birds on Earth barely changes its routine at all. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. If you enjoy discovering the hidden lives of the birds around you, subscribe before you leave, because what happens during the next rainfall in your backyard is something you'll never look at the same way again. Stay until the end, because the final story isn't just about science. It's about a bird that for centuries people believed waited its entire life for the very first drop of rain. Let's begin where almost every rainstorm begins, with disappearance. The moment rain starts falling, most backyard birds stop whatever they are doing. Not gradually, almost immediately, a chickadee feeding on sunflower seeds slips into dense evergreen branches. A cardinal disappears into thick shrubs. Wrens vanish into tangled vines, tree cavities, or nest boxes so quickly that, unless you were watching closely, you might believe they'd simply flown away. But they haven't gone far. In fact, many remain only a few yards from where you last saw them. The reason isn't that birds hate rain. It's that wet feathers can become dangerous surprisingly fast. A bird survives by trapping a thin layer of warm air inside its feathers. That invisible blanket keeps body heat from escaping into the colder air outside. Rain threatens that system. As water soaks into the outer feathers, warmth begins escaping much faster. For a tiny bird weighing less than an ounce, losing body heat isn't just uncomfortable. It can become a matter of survival. So instead of fighting the weather, birds often wait it out. Once hidden beneath dense leaves or inside tree cavities, something else begins to happen. Many birds carefully adjust their feathers. During lighter showers, they fluff themselves into little feathered balls, trapping extra pockets of warm air against their bodies. But if the rain becomes heavier, they do almost the opposite. They flatten their feathers tightly, allowing water to roll off more easily. Many tuck their heads beneath their wings, reducing exposed skin while conserving precious warmth. Before the storm even arrived, they had already prepared for it. As birds preen throughout the day, they spread oil from a small gland near the base of their tail across every feather. That invisible coating acts like nature's own waterproof jacket, helping raindrops bead up instead of soaking straight through. To us, it looks like a bird simply sitting in a bush. In reality, it's carrying out a carefully evolved survival routine that has worked for millions of years. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Not every bird runs from the rain. Some actually seem to enjoy it. While songbirds hide beneath leaves, species like nuthatches, woodpeckers, tree creepers, and even some thrushes sometimes remain completely exposed. Instead of escaping the rain, they use it. As raindrops fall, these birds deliberately fluff out their feathers, spreading their wings slightly so the water reaches as much of their body as possible. To anyone watching, it almost looks as though they're taking a shower. Because they are. Rain acts as a natural bird bath. The flowing water washes away dust, loose oils, dead skin, and tiny parasites that collect between feathers over time. When they've had enough, the bird suddenly erupts into an energetic full-body shake, spraying droplets in every direction before carefully preening each feather back into place. It's a complete cleaning routine provided entirely by the weather. The same rainstorm that sends one bird rushing for shelter becomes another bird's chance to freshen up. Nature rarely gives every species the same solution. And while all of this is happening above the ground, something equally remarkable is happening below it. As rain continues soaking into the soil, the ground itself begins to move. Earthworms start rising toward the surface. Many people have noticed worms appearing after rain. What most don't realize is that birds know it's coming. The moment conditions change, robins, blackbirds, thrushes, and countless other ground-feeding birds return to lawns with surprising urgency. To them, the rainstorm isn't an inconvenience, it's dinner. But some birds don't even wait for nature to do the work. Certain species have learned an extraordinary trick. Instead of searching for worms, they make the worms come to them. Standing on soft ground, these birds rapidly stamp or vibrate one foot against the soil. Researchers call this foot trembling. To an earthworm beneath the surface, those tiny vibrations feel remarkably similar to raindrops striking the ground. Thinking rain has arrived, the worm moves upward, exactly where the waiting bird wants it. The bird hasn't just found food. It's manipulated its prey into revealing itself. It's one of those behaviors happening quietly in parks, gardens, and muddy fields that most people walk past without ever realizing what they're seeing. By now, you might think every bird follows the same basic pattern: hide, wait, eat, but one tiny bird completely ignores the rules: the hummingbird. At first glance, this seems impossible. A hummingbird weighs only a few grams. Its wings beat dozens of times every second. Surely heavy rain would knock it from the sky. Yet researchers watching hummingbirds in slow motion discovered something astonishing. They don't stop flying. Instead, they adjust. As rain begins falling, hummingbirds lean their bodies slightly forward, subtly changing the angle of their wings while continuing to hover around flowers and feeders. To them, rain is simply another flying condition. Once the shower ends, they perform an explosive full-body shake that throws water from their feathers in a fraction of a second before immediately returning to feeding. The storm barely interrupts their day. It's hard not to admire that. One of the smallest birds in the world refusing to surrender to weather that sends much larger birds running for cover. And yet, long before scientists filmed hummingbirds in high-speed cameras or studied feather waterproofing in laboratories, people were already telling stories about birds and rain. Perhaps the most beautiful is the legend of the Chataka. According to ancient Indian tradition, this mysterious bird waits endlessly for the arrival of the first rains. It lifts its beak toward the sky, refusing rivers, ponds, and streams. Legend says it drinks only pure raindrops as they fall from the clouds. The real bird behind the story is believed to be the pied cuckoo, a species whose arrival often coincides with the coming of the monsoon. Of course, real cuckoos drink ordinary water like any other bird. But the legend survived because it captured something people have always sensed. Birds seem deeply connected to rain. They know it's coming. They respond to it instantly. And for generations, humans have watched those behaviors with wonder, trying to explain them through both science and story. The next time dark clouds gather over your backyard, pay close attention. You may see the feeder empty within seconds, a cardinal disappearing into an evergreen, a woodpecker quietly enjoying an unexpected shower, a robin racing across wet grass as worms emerge beneath its feet, or perhaps, if you're lucky, a hummingbird hovering through the falling rain as though the storm hardly exists. The rain changes your backyard in ways that are easy to miss, but it transforms the world of birds completely. To us, rain is simply weather. To them, it's a signal to hide, to clean, to hunt, to adapt. And sometimes, according to an old legend, to finally take that long-awaited first drink from the sky. The next time the first raindrop falls, don't watch the rain. Watch the birds. You'll realize they knew the storm had arrived long before you truly understood what it meant. If you've ever noticed birds behaving strangely just before or during a rainstorm, tell me about it in the comments. I read every one of them, and I love hearing what you've observed in your own backyard. I'll see you in the next one.